everybody, this is Monty with Flowers by the Bunch. So today I have an order for a low compact arrangement of roses. This is for a 21st birthday, and so they have asked for 21 colorful roses, and so I chose 3 different varieties, a lime green, a peachy orange color, and then a beautiful hot pink rose. I'm going to do it a little differently because I want our roses to sit snugly in this container. I thought we would use an armature to arrange the roses and then place into the container. Because this is such an open mouth, this is a cube vase, and it is about 5 inches across. So it's about 5 inches across here, and I only wanted to use roses. So I thought what we would do, I'm taking these roses really quickly. The orange ones have a few bumps on some of the petals, so I'm just removing those petals really quickly. What we're going to do is just arrange our roses in our armature first, and then we will cut them short and drop them in this container. I feel like if I arrange them just directly in the container, it's very likely that they won't stay together as we deliver these flowers. So we're going to see how we can make it work in this armature. So I'm just removing any of these petals that don't look nice. I'm going to take my armature and I'm going to start out with a single rose, and I'm just tucking that right in. These are a beautiful hot pink rose. I'm not sure the variety, but they are so pretty. So I'm just holding this. This is a chicken wire armature. So really all it is it's a grid. And what I've done is I've taken a small piece of chicken wire and I've kind of made it into like a little pillow shape. I am just holding these roses in my hand, and I am taking and working those little roses right down into that grid. And so you can see how it's kind of holding those roses apart. So I'm starting with my hot pink. I left a little bit of foliage on these roses because that foliage is free. It comes on those roses and it's already pretty, so why snatch it off and throw it away? Okay, so there are our pink roses. Look how pretty that is all by itself. Next we're going to come in with our peachy orange, and I'm just going to take and work those right down into that grid. Now the wonderful part about this is if they get tucked down too deep into that grid, I can just take them and slide them up. But I am just going to work each of these stems right down in. And we're just making a beautiful design of clustered roses. And we have exactly 21 stems for her 21st birthday. Now their plans are to use this arrangement on a dining table. They're going to go out to eat, and they wanted a beautiful centerpiece. And so that's what this is going to be, is a pretty centerpiece of 21 stems of roses. So you can see how I'm just taking them and separating them and going all the way around in this little armature. And so it's just holding those right in place. So up underneath, that had a little thorn. My grid is right there underneath, but it holds all my flowers in place. So when I stick those right down in there, they're not going to topple out individually. With this, I'm going to now nestle my green roses down into this arrangement. And with 21 roses, I just use 7 of each color rose. That one has a bump, so I just removed that petal. Now the reason I'm making sure in this arrangement that I am hitting this grid. And the reason is because I know it's going to hold those roses into place once I cut those, because everything's going to be held in place, okay? Oh, that one's got a good thorn, so it's catching my grid. So I'm just going to take my floral knife and I'm going to, I'm throwing all my roses on the floor. So I just cut that thorn off because it was making it where it was hard to put that rose into place. So you keep working. It just takes just a minute to get them all into place. Now I did not wire these roses, and it's because they're going to be nestled so deeply into the water, they're going to be able to very easily drink water. All right, so there are all 21 of our roses are in place. Now what I'm going to do next is I am going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim up these stems. Actually, here's my snips. That's much easier. So I'm just going to trim up these stems. Now they're actually not going to be trimmed nearly enough to go in my container, but this is going to kind of help me maneuver a little bit. Okay, so there are, ooh, something bit me. What's that? Chicken wire. Okay, so there are our roses. So what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of nestling them a little tighter down in there. I don't want anything to stick out too far. So there's our roses. Next, what I'm going to do is I am going to add a little bit of this Solidago filler flower, and I'm just taking it and I'm just nestling it right down in between those roses. Now what that's doing is filling in a little bit of space and just adding a little more fullness to my arrangement. And I'm just taking it and just pushing it right down through that grid. Again, that's going to hold those flowers into place. That filler flower into place. As long as you hit that grid, you're not going to have, I'm going to strip that greenery, you're not going to have any issues with it falling apart. And you want to be sure to strip any greenery that might fall below that water line. That's just going to help keep bacteria from growing in your water. Just strip it, stick it right down in there. Touch that flower. I think I'm going to add one more piece of filler flower here, and then we'll add a little bit of greenery, and we are ready to drop it in its container. Sometimes a little harder than it should be. Okay, there is our roses with our Solidago tucked in. I'm going to take my snips, trim back that Solidago. Okay, now I'm going to measure. You see here is my container. I need my roses to sit right on top of this container. So I'm going to cut about 1 inch off these roses. Okay, I cut about 1 inch. I'm going to drop them in there. They're still a little too long. See how they're going to wobble? Take your stems out and cut them again. Now I always tell you it's always better to cut just a little and have to trim them again than it is to cut too much. Okay? I think I still need to trim just a little off of them. So all I'm doing is I am taking that grid and I'm pressing it down just a little bit, and I think it's going to stay in place. I don't think I'm going to have any problems whatsoever with my flowers staying in place. So they're not going to fall out. That's the wonderful part about the grid, okay? So all I'm doing is I'm just kind of making sure that all my flowers are hitting that water. I'm just kind of touching each flower and making sure it's kind of nestled down in that water. Now to finish off this bouquet, I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to remove any of this greenery that might be falling below that water line. So just pull that right off, drop your flowers back in. Okay, now I can slightly see some of my grid showing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of eucalyptus. I have some pretty eucalyptus here. So I'm going to take, let's see. Actually, I'm going to use the seeded euc. I'm going to take a stem of seeded eucalyptus. I have a bucket right over here. So I just grabbed a stem of seeded eucalyptus. Oh goodness, my nose is itching. I'm going to take my snips and I'm going to cut a little short piece. Now, you've seen me do this before. I'm going to take that eucalyptus and I'm going to try to hit that grid so it's going to stay in place tightly. I'm going to ring all the way around these roses. Now y'all, this is the best way I have found to design in this container. This is going to keep these roses in place. And the best part is I get to use my clear container and you don't see that floral foam. Now, if you have floral foam on hand and you'd like to do this same type of arrangement with floral foam, absolutely feel free. You can make this exact design with floral foam and it's very easy to do. Not quite as cumbersome as it was for me to put it together, but you'll find that if you can design directly in fresh water, that your flowers last longer. They're always happier in fresh water versus floral foam. Now you'll see me design a lot with floral foam because it just really is a great mechanic. It makes it easy to design. But flowers are happier in fresh water. So happier flowers last longer, don't they? All right, and this is, and I'm removing any of these rose petals that don't look great. Sometimes they're bumped or bruised, so I'm just removing any bumps or bruises that I didn't catch beforehand. But there is our 21 roses arranged for a 21st birthday. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me this afternoon. If you have any questions about how to put together an armature with chicken wire, don't hesitate to ask any questions you might have right down below. And we will see you all real soon. Thank you, guys.